This one is called tidbits because things happen in life sometimes for me, and it's just like they're just little tidbits, and I don't always like have a way to work them into some, you know, grander theme, or like, you know, it is, but it's interesting. You know, there's still like these little revelations and just like things that I come up with or that come to me that I find are fascinating, and I don't have anybody to share with, but I do, right? I have a camera, and I talk to my camera, and so, and anybody that's listening when I publish it, and so, yeah, I mean, I am doing absolutely fantastic. I have, like, you know, maintained my, I don't know how to say it, like my integrity in all of the things that I do, and of course that pays off. I mean, how could it not? I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous to think otherwise. And so, like, you know, like for starters, it's like something that's going on in my living situation. It's like, you know, I did everything to be as considerate and to be respectful and to, like, you know, play by the rules, and, you know, to just do everything in the most, you know, mature way that I possibly knew how. But then, you know, honestly, I woke up this morning, and it's like some of the issues have persisted, and it's like, you know, to the point it's like, well, if I gotta like sleep with earplugs in, if I have to meditate with earplugs in, and it's like, and I edit videos with like headphones, like I do everything just to be so like discreet and like try to like really, you know, make my presence as minimal as possible, but it's just like not reciprocated at all. And so at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, you know, the noise that I make is just gonna be the noise that I make from now on, and I don't, yeah, and so they're gonna learn a little something about video editing, music production, playing a handpan, and gangster rap, because those are things that I frequent. And so, yeah, it's just great to come full circle, you know, as opposed, you know, and it's like, I wasn't about to fight fire with fire. I wasn't, you know, it couldn't be something that was done as a response, you know, in that, or as a reaction. It couldn't have been done out of spite. It was very important to me without even thinking about it, without knowing, but I just know, you know, I trust my intuition. I mean, it never leads me wrong. And it's just like, you know, as it has unfolded, I've been able to just, you know, I've rolled with it, and it has just blossomed into something where it's like, okay, this is how it's just going to be. And it's not like I'm going to make an excess of noise or anything like that, because I'm not petty. And but yeah, it's just great that, you know, it's kind of come full circle for me. And it's like, you know, and I'm so proud of myself that I handled the situation in the way that I do. And it's like, you know, with, you know, I've been dealing with certain people in my life to do with different things, and it, you know, it's something that I've been becoming increasingly aware of, is like when a person, how to say this, is not heart-based. And, you know, once you start to notice this kind of things and recognize it, and you can see the signs, and you can identify, and it's just like, then it's great, because when you know, it's something that I love from like Marcus Aurelius Meditations book, great book. I mean, if you ever want to man up, if you're a man and you want to be more manly, that's the one, you know. Teach you how to be responsible and things like that. And just like, yeah, a manly approach to things. I mean, so it's great. And they say it's just like, or he says something that he learned from one of his teachers, was just that, like, don't ever, you know, when somebody's displaying, no, he says, like, don't ever give way, like, never abandon logic, never abandon reason for any reason. And so I thought about this, and it's like, what is that? So what is the opposite of logic and reason and whatnot? And it's ego, is what I came up with. Or yeah, and so, just recognizing that. And so it's like when you're dealing with a situation where there is ego involved, and hopefully not your own, right? Because I don't know what, you got to deal with that yourself. But it's like, so when you're handling that kind of a situation, and it's just like, and another one too is like, don't, when you're dealing with ego, don't think that you're going to approach the situation with your logic and it have like this impact where a person just says, oh, right, okay, yeah, I get it. It makes total sense, right? Because by the nature of what you're dealing with, it's not reason, right? If ego is sort of like the opposite of logic and that kind of stuff, and I'm not saying that that is the definition of ego, but like for what it's worth, for the purpose of this conversation, this is the understanding that I'm working with that helps me to find to maintain my inner peace. And so you don't even like bother. So it's like, I've learned to just not engage. If you choose to engage somebody in a conversation, you are choosing to enter into an energetic exchange, and it can just go back and forth, or you can just say no and just don't. And I tell you, it is so much better and so much more healthy for inner peace. And so it's like another thing too is like with inner peace, I have for myself realized that it's like inner peace is not just a concept. To me, this is a reality. Children are a concept to me. I do not have kids, but inner peace I do have. I found it, or it found me, or it was gifted to me through much hardship over my life. And so it's like, that's why I'm very grateful for the path that I've been able to walk, because it has granted me something that most people, or that maybe a lot of people never get to taste, and it is amazing. That's all I can say. It's once you've had it, you can't go back because you're aware of it. It's kind of like mental clarity. It takes a lot to arrive at mental clarity. It doesn't just happen overnight. You have to go through quite a process. You have to resolve your past, your present, and whatever ideas you have of the future. You need to essentially cleanse your life and your lifestyle and everything that is involved with you and is around you, whether it's people or this or that, your diet's got to be on point, you're sleeping, you got to be on your life path. But it's just like, but mainly, a big one is the eating. You put stuff in the enteric nervous system in this second brain or third brain, because I think it's a ternary, central nervous system, brain, spinal cord, heart center, and then the stomach center, all passing messages via like nerves and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, but once you taste mental clarity, it's just like, it's odd, because I think you can get really used to having brain fog, or thinking that it's like normal to not be able to recall things when you need to, like for something that like with the intermittent fasting and things like that comes to is this increased mental capacity, this this ability to tap the recesses of your brain as you need to. And so that being said, that's a super important thing. So what else? The heart-based stuff is like huge, and now with that, it's like, now that I recognize it and see it more and more and more, and it's just like, people who, that's where they're at, because they've never been taught about the heart. And no doubt it's tough, but it's like, it's not, somebody's got to be ready for it. You can't tell somebody something that they're not ready or willing to hear. I mean, it takes a bit to come to a place where you're ready to make that the great distance, or the biggest journey people travel. A lot of people travel, as somebody say, is like the 12 inches from the head to the heart. And it's just constantly coming back to the space and residing there, and it makes all of the difference, of course. And so I was like having a conversation with somebody recently about, it's funny how like some people they blow up, say like with the internet and whatnot, social media and blah blah blah, and it's just like, or with music, and like and then all of a sudden it's like it was like good, and then it was good, and then something happens, and it's like, it's not that I don't know if it's that it peters out, but it's just like something, right? Like whether it's ego involved, or it's like it goes to your head, or it's just like you don't have anything else to say, right? And it's like thinking about that, I would say it's because it is possible like to get caught up, to get with the mind stuff and the ego and the fame and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it very much can change your reality in such a way that like maybe what you have to say is not so attractive to other people. But if you have the heart connection, you will always, right? The example that I will give is, I would say somebody like Tupac. Tupac got caught up. I love that. But I'd say that he was heart-based. He had that intact. He was connected to his heart. And that's huge, and it's evident in the things that he said, and it's also clear that he got a little caught up and carried away. But, humans, I mean, he was pretty young too, right? So it's like, that's that, right? And it was, amazing unfoldment, that whole story. And so that's an interesting little scenario. And so something that it's like I'm always trying to understand myself a little bit better. And so one of the ways that I do that is I think of myself as a fountain. I'm not the water, I'm the fountain. And there, of course, is a difference. I'm not, And so, and I think that that's what happens when, even before I've always had some heart, I've always been very compassionate and nice, I'm a nice person, I think. I've always been like that. Ever since I was very young, I was very connected to things and very, kind of deep. And so, but like, but as an adult, then I was very intellectual for some time, but there was still, I had a lot to share, to offer, but it's like, there's just so much more, I think, when it comes to the heart, because the heart is just like, knows no bounds, it is acceptance and surrender and trust and just like giving yourself over. There's one of these things that I think is interesting, is like how it's about how like people thank God at award ceremonies, and I've heard people like make fun of that, like, oh, it's so stupid. It's like okay, but it's like for me, that going through saying those things, saying like I'd like to thank God, it's like it's another way of saying I recognize that there is something greater than me that is running things, and I just give props. I give credit where credit is due. And so, that's why it's like, for me, the whole fountain analogy, I don't know, I like it. I like to think of myself for things like that. And so, I suppose that's it. Everything else in my life is kind of personal. You know, I could just go on and on and on about my silly little things, but just wanted to get this off of my chest, you know, because it, or else what do I do with it? And it's like when you get something off your chest, it allows you to breathe easier, and it's not going around in my head, because otherwise it's like there's something in me that wants to share all of these little tidbits that have come up in my life. And it's like, you know, I'm so grateful for this avenue of YouTube where I get to do that. And it's like, you know, I don't know what will come of this in time, but I just don't need to know. I trust that I followed my intuition and used my intellect to the greatest of my ability. And, you know, I just surrender to it all. And yeah. So that is it. This is it. This is me. And here I am. Thanks for listening.